So in Florida, they passed a bill in the House to get rid of certain portion of the property taxes as of today. It still needs to go through the Senate, and then they need to vote on it in November of 2026 to actually pass that. And I wanted to know how much it could actually save for the homeowners, because the governor promised that he is working on getting rid of it completely, banishing, right? But the current bill that passed, it looks like just main portion of the non-school items. So it ends up being somewhere like 50 to 60% savings, which would be great. But I'm actually a proponent of just completely getting rid of it. I know some of you might think, then how are we gonna pay for schools and things like that? And I think there are other ways to fill that gap, in my opinion. I think the school system are failing anyways, and we need some revamping of the education system. And I think there's still definitely some waste and fraud, possibly. I don't know. That's not my area, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I think property tax here in Oregon, to certain parts of the counties, it's at a breaking point. Like Forest Heights, for example, the home prices isn't really appreciating because of such a high property taxes. Like you will find often $1.5 million house having like $22,000 a month kind of property taxes. It just can't sustain, you know. That used to be like close to half, less than 10 years ago. And yes, there is inflation. Yes, there is more expenses, but it's at a point where, yeah, I see a lot of Forest Heights homes not selling because of the high property taxes. And so, yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see. We're on the other side of Florida, right? At the other corner of Florida. I was chatting with one of the brokers in Florida, and he said he would like to see it completely gone, but he would still take that like 50% reduction because it got doubled in the last about 5 years, according to him, and I believe him. Which is just not correct. It's just wrong, in my opinion. And for the home buyers, I mean, obviously, the property taxes you have to pay every year. A lot of times, if you break it down to monthly payment, but if that keeps going up, then the home affordability shrinks as the property taxes go up. The other thing that I think the lawmakers may need to, tackle, in my opinion, is the home insurance cost. Home insurance cost has been like skyrocketing, way more than home price at this point. And so people talk about only the price. Price needs to crash 30-40% for Americans to be able to afford a home. But the reality is that very unlikely. Inflation alone is just supporting that median of the regular appreciation rate. So that's where we are. And the other side of point that I want to make is that, real estate is it is the only asset that people can live in it, that is stable. It doesn't have like 40% drop up and down, this kind of stuff. And the only way to really gain like equity for regular Americans. In fact, I think it was somewhere about like 35% of the Americans' asset is linked to the home equity, meaning people who own home can enjoy that accumulating the wealth. And for some people to wish to have the home price crash so they can buy one, but then what's going to happen? When you buy one, you want to have the price keep going up, right? I mean, wouldn't you? And so it's just a matter of debating who is looking at it. All the renters want the price to crash. All the homeowners want the prices to sustain it at least. So that's another point that, I don't know, I get into this sort of debate on X, but going back to the property taxes, when I hear about these school systems having a lot of, like administrators rather than enough teachers, to me, that's a problematic. When the management gets bigger than the production line, which is, I'm calling production line, but I should put a better word here, teachers. Teachers who actually teach kids, which matters the most, rather than efficient management. Efficient management can be done with a smaller management group, in my opinion, but my understanding is that administration, the management crew is way bigger in school systems. To me, that's pretty much wasteful, in my opinion. And I think we need to treat our teachers well. We need to have more talented teachers in our school systems. Right now, school systems are failing. A lot of kids are not be able to read, apparently. I see some news that the teachers are quitting because the kids are even getting violent, which, when I was going to school in South Korea, violent against teachers? I'm seeing, like, in my head a stick that would, I grew up in a school system where teachers would spank the students. I got spanked several times, many times actually. And so, yeah, I'm all over the board here. But going back to the property taxes, I think it needs to be somewhat capped. If the government is going to cap like a rental price, the government also should cap property tax increases. And because it just went up too much too fast, I think it needs to come down at some point. Otherwise, the home affordability, the home ownership rate's gonna just keep crashing. So I'm actually rooting for, Florida to pass this. If they can lead, if they get rid of it 100%, I'll be pretty stoked. If they get rid of like 60%, I'll be so happy to see it so that we can benefit from that, far state. Maybe in Oregon, maybe we can have some relief on property taxes. So that's all the rants that I have, that I have for today. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment below. If you have any questions about Portland, Oregon real estate, give me a call. Thanks for watching.